that is true, why do we allow American companies to export billions of cigarettes to nations around the world? U.S. companies answer are millions of tobacco jobs involved in the export trade, that the U.S. balance of payments is at stake, that our cigarettes are safer than theirs, that we are not making new smokers out of non-smokers. We are simply persuading Germans, Japanese, and Thais to switch to American brands. And all liberal busybodies should butt out. Tonight, are we jeopardizing the world's health to help our own balance of trade? Or should the Marlboro man be free to travel wherever he wishes? Michael?
Mr. Smith, do cigarettes cause cancer?
You know, I think if we're discussing a trade issue, that's not relevant. I don't think cigarettes are any different in the United States than they are in other countries. I think the key issue here is a trade issue, and we find that there are countries outside the United States which have major trade imbalances against the United States, but which try to keep American cigarettes out of their country, like, for example, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and Thailand, where the government makes all the cigarettes. Now, what they've tried to do is erect barriers against what is effectively one of America's best export products in terms of commercial success, and they have put up quotas and tried to keep these products out of their country.
Mr. Smith, do cigarettes cause cancer?
I'm not a medical man. I think the answer to that question is that we acknowledge that cigarettes are a risk factor in connection with certain diseases based on a statistical relationship between smoking and those diseases. But I think when we're discussing trade issues, that's not critical, because we don't export smoking. We export cigarettes. There are hundreds of millions of smokers outside the United States, and frankly, for them to have a choice between an American product and a local product or a government-made product where ours is the world standard of quality is, frankly, that is fair trade.
Well, now, in a country like Taiwan, consumption is soaring at the very time that American companies are going in there and increasing their advertising. Now, is that just a coincidence?
You know, the consumption of cigarettes was increasing in Taiwan. Since the Taiwanese government gave up their commercial monopoly on making and selling cigarettes, in fact, the consumption of cigarettes has not increased as fast as it had before the American products arrived there. Just one more, then I'll stop, just to get this on the record.
Yeah. It is your belief that the millions of dollars American companies spend promoting cigarettes abroad, never mind here, do not cause any person to start smoking cigarettes?
I think that's the critical point. We do not promote cigarettes abroad. What we do is we compete for existing markets which exist outside the United States.
That's the point, Congressman Durbin. If folks in other countries are going to smoke, what is wrong with providing them access to American brands, many of which are much safer than the junk they smoke anyhow?
We have a limited amount of money available to subsidize agricultural products. Let me answer the question posed to Mr. Smith. Cigarettes cause cancer, heart disease, lung disease, emphysema. The #1 preventable cause of death in America today. Mr. Smith's product is taking money away from the subsidization of agricultural exports from the United States of healthy, wholesome products. That's what's wrong with it. It sends a message around the world. It sends a message around the world.
Let's get your point down. Is your problem, you don't have any problem with the export of cigarettes, you have a problem with an American subsidy of the export of cigarettes?
No, let me tell you, I have a problem with the export of cigarettes.
What do you want done?
What I basically think we should do as a nation is not subsidize our export, period.
Well, I agree with you on that.
All right.
I don't have any problem with that. I want to follow up.
They simply are not subsidized.
Hold it. I want to follow up. I disagree with you about the cause, on terms of death. The most immediate cause of death, I think among teenagers, is not the fact they're smoking too many cigarettes. It's the fact they get drunk on alcohol and beer and get in automobile accidents, kills 25,000 of them, smashes up families, causes quarrels inside families, and killings. Are you against the export of Jack Daniels abroad also?
There's a difference between alcoholic products and tobacco products. Tobacco products, when used as legally intended, will kill you. You can drink a drink mixed with Jack Daniels, a glass of wine or a beer in moderation, and survive.
And a lot, sure, you can. I smoke cigarettes. A lot of people smoke and survive, but alcohol is directly related to 25. Look, what it seems to me, Congressman Durbin, is You're picking on cigarettes because they're not popular, and you don't want to touch booze because that might get the congressman in a little trouble in his home district.
Frankly, let me tell you, I was the deciding vote on raising the drinking age to 21 nationwide. I want to have moderation in the use of alcohol. We should as a part of our government policy. But let me tell you what we're dealing with here when it comes to tobacco. The United States has had a worldwide reputation for over 100 years of exporting agricultural expertise, science, public health, smallpox eradication. I will tell you the legacy that Mr. Smith's product will leave us. In the next 2 or 3 generations, we will have millions of people dying around the world from American products.
Let's, Mr. Smith, Vice President Quayle told some tobacco state Republicans, this is a quote, "Tobacco exports should be expanded aggressively because Americans are smoking less." Now, do you agree with that?
I agree. I agree definitely that American products should not be discriminated against by foreign countries. And I take issue with the notion that there is a subsidy of the export of cigarettes. There is no subsidy of export of cigarettes. In fact, cigarette exports help the United States. We have $6 billion a year of positive contribution to the American trade balance from cigarettes. And if we stopped cigarette exports, the only thing that would happen would be American farmers would be hurt, American factory workers would be hurt, the American balance of trade would be hurt, and American tax revenues would be hurt, and there would be zero impact on the worldwide consumption of cigarettes.
Mr. Durbin seems to me is in favor of allowing sales in the United States, but he's against allowing American sales abroad.
No, that's not his position at all.
If you want to outlaw one, why not outlaw the other and be
that's not
consistent?
the position. I think, frankly, that we should have warning labels, public education campaigns. We should not be promoting what we know to be the #1 preventable cause of death.
Nobody's knocking that right now.
No, please.
Nobody's promoting cigarette smoking anywhere.
Absolutely we are.
American manufacturers are competing for established
Let me give you an example.
Let me give you an example.
R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company sponsored a rock concert in Taiwan a couple years ago. It was aimed at a teenage audience. Admission to the rock concert was 5 empty packs of Winston's. Now, is that not promoting cigarettes?
Well,
Am I nuts?
what you're doing is you're falling into the assumption that that advertising causes smoking. In fact, advertising is not the cause of smoking. I'll give you an example. Take Poland. They had a communist dictatorship for 45 years, a generation and a half, and they never saw cigarette advertising because the government prohibited the advertising. Now, Poles smoke more than Americans do. In Germany, in East Germany, they also had a communist dictatorship, no cigarette advertising. In West Germany, people saw cigarette advertising every day of their lives. The smoking per capita consumption is the same in East and West Germany. Germans who never saw advertising smoke the same amount as Germans who see it every day of their lives. It is a fallacy to say that advertising is the cause of smoking.
Sponsoring a rock concert and saying you can't get in, aimed at teenagers, saying you can't get in unless you have 5 empty cigarette packs, Winston packs, in your hand, is not encouraging and promoting smoking?
You're suggesting that that has the result of making people smoke, and I'm saying,
yes, I am.
And I'm saying that the overwhelming number of studies that have been conducted on this subject say that smoking is not a consequence of advertising.
Okay, we'll have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to straighten out what exactly it is and it isn't that Congressman Durbin wants to stop.
Attention all former military personnel. If you are between the ages of 30 and 69 and you served in any branch of the armed forces, you are now eligible to apply for term life insurance at the guaranteed rate of just $1 a week. That's right, just $1 a week. With money often tight, it can be tough to get the extra life insurance you need. That's exactly why this affordable $1-a-week term life plan was developed by Veterans Life to help you get what you need at a price you can afford. And it's exclusively for veterans and spouses ages 30 to 69. Whether you serve during wartime, peacetime, active, or reserves, you can apply for term life protection for just $1 a week. Just pick up your phone and call this toll-free number now. Free information will be rushed to you by Western Union. Imagine life insurance you can afford with valuable features like a $1-a-week rate, first aid coverage, and benefits that never go down. You'll also get news about our Veterans Double Bonus, a discount eye care plan for you and your family, plus plus our Veterans Newsletter series filled with VA news, benefit updates, and more. Both your eye care plan and your subscription to Veterans Update are free with your term life protection.
Veterans, call 1-800-235-3600 for your free information package. That's 1-800-235-3600. Call now.
On CNN tomorrow, a good deed reaps reward and a scandal in the State House. The story on Daybreak. Then the Biosphere 2, scientific merit or a waste of time and money on Cryer and Company. All tomorrow on CNN.
Welcome back to Crossfire. U.S. cigarette companies are losing customers in America, but they're finding new ones in other countries, especially the third world. And the U.S. government is helping them. Are you for that? Here to help you decide are our guests, Representative Richard Durbin, Democrat of Illinois, who's got a couple of bills in the hopper on this subject, and Owen Smith, a lawyer for the Philip Morris Company, who is also president of the United States Cigarette Export Association. Now let's talk about the case of Thailand. Both of you can tell me if I've got this right. Thailand wants to discourage smoking among its citizens. It's got a ban on cigarette advertising and promotion, not of American cigarettes, of all cigarettes, including domestic ones. Now, the United States government is going in there under the guise of trade policy and pressuring the Thai government to get rid of its ban on cigarette advertising. Doesn't the Thai government have the right to do that if they want, and isn't it none of our business?
First, let me say that the Thai government has only recently banned cigarette advertising, and that was in anticipation of them losing their monopoly on sales. Up until last year, Thailand prohibited Thai citizens from having any cigarettes other than those made by the Thai government. The Thai government made plenty of cigarettes, enough to even export to other countries. So we're not talking about a government which is discouraging smoking. We're talking about a government which is in the cigarette business and wants to protect that business.
But doesn't the government of a foreign country, why should, as I understand Mr. Durbin's bill, it does not say we can't export cigarettes. Your companies can't export cigarettes. It says the United States, it doesn't even say the United States government shouldn't go down and break down barriers to the sale of our cigarettes. All it says is if a country has a barrier to the consumption of all cigarettes that is non-discriminatory against the United States, my tax dollars and Pat's tax dollars and his tax dollars and yours should not be spent trying to prevent other countries from having anti-smoking policies if they want.
You know, there's not a single country in the world that prohibits the use of cigarettes, and certainly not Thailand. Thailand does not have any law which bans the use of cigarettes.
It's discouraging the use of cigarettes.
Mr. Durbin, I think, look, here's our objection to him. I think, first, I'm against export subsidies of any kind, just about. Secondly, but I think people have a right to smoke. They have a right to information and knowledge that it is related to cancer and emphysema and heart disease. I've had 2 friends recently who died, I think, directly related to smoking. But once you give Americans, free people, and people abroad this information, doesn't it get down to their own choice as to whether or not to smoke and what to smoke? And at some point, the coercive power of government's got to butt out and stop playing big mother.
Let me tell you about the coercive power of government. I sat next to Dr. Koop testifying before the U.S. trade representatives.
That's Dr. Koop is the former Surgeon General appointed by Ronald Reagan.
We were both sitting there begging them not to do what his association wanted. That was to fight the Thai government's efforts to have a public health policy to discourage smoking. Finally, they reached a resolution of this conflict where his product could be exported into Thailand, but we weren't going to interfere with their advertising restrictions. Why in the world does the United States of America, since 1964, say that it is good health policy not to advertise smoking, try to discourage it, and then try to circumvent these laws around the world in other nations? What message that send? Let me give you one specific example. If Dr. Lewis Sullivan comes forward and says it is discriminatory for R.J. Reynolds to promote a product among African Americans, and we say as a nation, he's right on, Dr. Sullivan. That's a sensible public health position. And then our U.S. Trade Representative says we ought to be promoting and subsidizing the export of tobacco products to Africans. But look, tell me, how is that consistent?
Let me tell you the consistency as I see it. What they're saying is, look, if people abroad or in the United States want to smoke, all we are saying is Americans make cigarettes, whether you like them or think they're rotten, they make cigarettes. Our product ought to have equal access in a foreign market, whether it's booze, which you don't like, or ciggies, which you don't like, or even handguns,
What
which you don't
legacy
like.
does this leave for the United States when the lung
but you don't
cancer
even
rate is
disagree with that.
34-fold?
But look, it is not, what I'm saying, it is not the decision of Durbin to play big mother if these people want
This
to
isn't
smoke
my
the
decision.
cigarettes.
The decision has been made by health professionals who have told us, public policymakers, that this is a product which kills people.
Mr. Durbin,
Mr.
I
Smith
agree
won't
with you.
admit.
I agree with you. I threw them away 20 years ago.
God bless you.
A lot of people didn't throw them away, and if they want to smoke them, at some point you got to say, it's, you know, it's your health, buddy, but if you want to smoke them, that's your business, and Durbin butts out.
Just what the British did with opium in the 1830s.
No, they forced it on the Chinese.
Let me and Mr. Smith in here for a bit. As I understand it, Mr. Durbin is not playing big mother and saying to these foreigners, you cannot smoke cigarettes. Let's talk about his other bill, which is his labeling bill. He's saying, sure, it's up to each country to protect its own citizens, make whatever rules it wants. But if American companies are exporting cigarettes to them, we are implicated. Therefore, we want some kind of health warning on these cigarettes that are sold by Americans to foreigners, simply alerting them, as Pat says, to the health risks. Now, what's wrong with that?
Well, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, and in fact, most countries in the world have health warnings. I would say 95% of the world's population is in countries that have health warnings that are prescribed. In China, they have decided to have a health warning in Chinese, and there's one in Arabic in Saudi Arabia. These are matters of health policy which are intrinsically within the jurisdiction of the countries themselves. And I should point out that the U.S. government is not encouraging anybody to smoke. The only thing the U.S. government has done through the USTR is to say you can't discriminate against American products. After that, it's up to the consumer. If the consumer doesn't want to smoke an American product, he won't smoke an American product. But fortunately, we have a quality advantage, so we do have a very substantial export business.
Mr. Durbin's question is, there are limited funds, there's a limited amount of energy in the trade representative's office. Of all the things we could be promoting the export of, why pick cigarettes?
I'll give you an example. In Japan, the USTR helped reduce the quotas on beef and helped open up the market to cigarettes. Now, Australia has got 60% of the beef imports in Japan, whereas in the cigarette business, the United States has got 99%. We have a quality product which is very competitive in world markets.
We have a quality lethal product.
All right, when we come back, we're going to ask Mr. Durbin what he's would do if he had the authority in the United States to that lethal product. Would he abolish cigarettes?
Hey, I didn't see this on the news.
What's that?
Oh, that business about government grants. Scandalous, isn't it?
Insight. Where'd you get this?
Guy at the office turned me on to it.
They don't pull any punches, do they?
Sort of refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah. Better than reading a rehash of last week's news.
Name another magazine like Insight that's ready to take on Congress, or media, or lawyers for that matter.
Look at this. I can't believe I voted for this guy.
Insight, the savvy alternative to conventional news magazines, the aggressive media watchdog that dares to challenge the establishment. Insight brings you unique stories you're not going to read anywhere else, stories that people are going to be talking about. Insight's Hall of Shame keeps you up to date on the latest government boondoggle. The Last Word gives you strong opinions from some of the best writers in America. And only Insight has yeas and nays, the recorded vote of each member on key bills before Congress. Subscribe now for one full year of Insight's investigative, political, world, and cultural news. News that you won't find anywhere else.
So are you going to join us or what?
Yeah, in a minute. Wow. Really amazing what we're not being told.
Call 1-800-248-6400. That's 1-800-248-6400 to get a total of 51 issues of Insight for just 3 payments of $8.50. The first 3 issues are yours without obligation, so call now, 1-800-248-6400.
10 years ago, we were learning about the tragedy of AIDS. What do we know about it today? Are we any closer to understanding cancer? And whatever became of the artificial heart? Diagnosing a Decade. Sunday, 9 Eastern on CNN.
Okay, Congressman Durbin, if you could write the ideal law you think for the United States with regard to the sale and distribution of cigarettes here and their export abroad that you think is in the best interest of the health of the American people and the country, what would you do?
Well, first, prohibition of alcohol in the 20s didn't work. Prohibition of tobacco in the United States or anywhere isn't going to work. But we need a public education campaign that's consistent. Let's tell the people abroad what we're telling Americans about the danger of Mr. Smith's product. Let's also try to encourage them to stop children from taking up the habit. That's where he gets his new smokers. In the United States and around the world. Bring children into this web, get them addicted to nicotine.
You'd let him sell it to the kids, but you'd educate the little Indian kids and then let him sell them to them.
Frankly, we should not be promoting the export of tobacco through government funds or government agencies.
But you would allow the free export of tobacco.
Absolutely.
Isn't there a difference, Mr. Smith, on exactly that point, between saying your company has a right to sell cigarettes here and abroad, people here and abroad have the right to smoke them if they want, and saying, as Dan Quayle said, that Americans should go out and aggressively seek foreign smokers to replace the Americans who've come to their senses and stop?
Yeah, well, I should say two things about that. First, we are a competitive industry, and therefore, when we increase our business, what we're really doing is we are taking business away from foreign competitors. In fact, there is a worldwide decline in the consumption of cigarettes, and if you take
I don't think that.
If you take China out. 10 years ago, well, they don't participate substantially in the international business. 10 years ago, the per capita consumption around the world was 1,200 cigarettes per capita per annum. 5 years after that, it was 1,100.
Is that good or bad in your view?
Last year, in 1990, it was less than 1,000 cigarettes per capita around the world.
Is that good or bad?
It is a declining phenomenon. Now, what we do is we compete we compete for the market. We compete quite successfully because we have a
are you saying not only are you not going out and finding new smokers, but you're facing a world in which fewer and fewer people are smoking, and you're not trying to do anything to change that? You're happy with that?
Well, let me tell you.
As a tobacco company?
Here, you have to take a little perspective. The U.S. cigarette exports represent less than 3% of the worldwide consumption of cigarettes. This is not a major factor in worldwide consumption.
Let me ask you, in the interest of health worldwide in the U.S., would you like to see eventually cigarette consumption to go to zero?
I think it's a matter of personal choice.
I know it is, but would you like to see it go to zero?
I really don't have a view on that. I think if people decide that they don't want to smoke, they shouldn't smoke. If they want to smoke, they should smoke.
Would you like to see them give it up?
I would like to see the people decide. I think that's the fair thing.
Let me tell you, and then what's happening is they're luring the children into this decision through their camel gangs.
I got to cut you off, Congressman. Thank you, Congressman Durbin. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Pat and I will be back in just a moment.
Thanks for coming over.
The Mustang. Wild, carefree, spirited, a proud symbol of America's heritage. It was the inspiration for the legendary Ford Mustang sports car, the sexiest car of the 60s that became an instant classic. Now, through the Danbury Mint, you can own a magnificent replica of the car that took America by storm and made automotive history. This exquisitely crafted model of the 1966 Mustang will captivate you with its extraordinary workmanship and meticulous attention to detail. Hand-assembled from over 140 parts, its body, chassis, drivetrain, and engine block are painstakingly crafted in heavy die-cast metal. The body hand-sanded, hand-painted, oven-baked, then hand-waxed to a gleaming finish. Meticulous in every detail, its precisely fitted doors open and close. The hood lifts to reveal its engine block, chromed air cleaner, even painted battery caps. So realistic, you can almost feel the incredible power of the Mustang's 289 cubic inch V8. No detail is spared to assure the most precise reproduction of this automotive legend. From the distinctive Mustang grille to its unique rear profile with triple panel tail lamps. Under the trunk lid, even the spare. Inside, two-tone seating, a sporty steering wheel that actually turns the wheels, even a 4-on-the-floor stick. Underneath, more incredible detail, right down to the dual exhausts and gas tank. Each of its 143 parts is inspected, polished before painting, then hand-assembled by skilled craftsmen. It's hand-waxed and buffed to original showroom luster, then shipped with a certificate of title registered in your name. Call now to bring this magnificent model into your home. Available only by subscription through the Danbury Mint, this superb replica may be yours for far less than you'd expect to pay for a collectible of such extraordinary quality.
Use your credit card and call toll-free. We'll ship your Mustang, charge your account just $29.50 a month plus shipping for 3 months. Satisfaction guaranteed. Call 1-800-346-8900.
For a transcript, send $3 to Crossfire Transcripts, Journal Graphics Incorporated, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 303-831-9000.
Pat, people have the right to smoke if they want. People even have the right to sell cigarettes if they want. The Durbin bills would do two things. Number one, they would say American cigarettes sold even abroad ought to have a warning label on them. And two, they would say the United States government is not going to tell foreign governments they can't discourage smoking if they do it in a non-discriminatory way. That seems reasonable to me.
I think foreign governments should really take care of themselves, and as for American products, they should compete equally in foreign markets. I don't know if people should smoke. I don't think they should, but if they do, as an America Firster, they should smoke Marlboro and Winston first.
Really? You think as an America Firster that you would rather have people dying from cancer from an American product than from some foreign product?
Don't be silly. I smoked Pandas and Chungwas in China, and they will kill you in a second. American cigarettes have less tar and nicotine. They are safer, better. If you have to smoke, smoke American first.
You heard it here. From the left, I'm Mike Kinsley. Good night for Crossfire.
From the right, Pat Buchanan. Join us tomorrow night for another edition of Crossfire.